Hello everyone, today I'm going to be speaking with Jake Delaney. He's a professional tennis player from Sydney, Australia. He's been playing since he was a young kid, and he accumulated a bunch of injuries from not only practicing a lot and playing a lot, but also from some of the training that he was doing. So he's going to be coming on today and talking about his experience with functional patterns, how it's helped him, not just with getting ready for to play, but also in the game itself with playing tennis. So I'm going to have him come on. Hey Jake,
How you doing, Rodney?
how's it
Thanks for
going?
having
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
me. Appreciate it.
So start a little bit with how it was like growing up playing tennis. I guess how you got started and what that was like.
Yeah, I started probably at 4 or 5, pretty young, really. My dad played just a little bit himself, and he enjoyed it, so he got me into it pretty early. So we'd be on the court, 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. when it was dark still, playing quite a few hours a day. Um, and yeah, played a lot of tournaments, travelled to a lot of places, playing tournaments as well. Was pretty injury free for the first, obviously you're young and you do a little bit more of whatever. So I got to about probably 16, 17. I hadn't had any injuries. Um, with a lot of hours. That's probably around the same time that I started, a little bit more of like the traditional strength training, lifting. So, whether it was coming anyway, the injuries from the on-court stuff, or it was more, once that gym stuff sort of started. But yeah, so the first injuries I had was about 16, 17. I had hip surgery, and then after that, they were just sort of compounding. So I had like a constant shoulder issues, bulging disc in my back, um, yeah, neck problems, shin splints, you name it, just kept sort of coming after that. So yeah,
What was the surgery for your hip surgery?
torn hip labrum on my right hip. So I had like the bone shaved back and then stitched up the labral tear.
And that was what age? You said?
That was at 16. Yeah,
Oh wow, so that was early.
I
And
remember
then you go ahead.
week before. Oh, to somebody, yeah, I've never had any big injuries in my life. I pretty much never missed more than 4 or 5 days of tennis in a row. But yeah, then that came sort of the next week, and then yeah, spiraled a bit after that.
And so then even after the hip surgery, you were doing some of the traditional training, some I'm guessing back squatting, deadlifting, all that.
Yeah, that's probably what I used to rehab. I had my physio out there that was doing my sort of program and strength trainer, and we do a lot of back squats, split stance squats, deadlifts. Yeah, a lot of the traditional stuff to try and I suppose build my glutes up again, which might have worked a little bit in the short term, but after that, yeah, the back sort of went down. Then it would kind of be a little bit of a relationship between the hip and the back. When one would feel bad, the other one would sort of get worse as well, and yeah, it would be a little bit back and forth between those two.
So so you weren't doing too much training before you had that hip problem? You were just playing mostly, training and
I
playing?
started, I reckon, a year before that. I reckon at
I
about
see.
15, 14, I started a little bit more of some strength training. Before that, I would have just been playing a lot on the court, hitting a lot of balls. Yeah, I wouldn't have been doing too much at 13, 14 age, yeah.
What made you start training? I guess in the weight room outside of playing.
It was probably just advice from other strength trainers, and you're in like a program out there with the tennis guys, so they kind of set something just general for everyone. They don't do too much specific stuff, and then everyone will be doing the same things. Some guys that get away with it and kind of escape the injuries, and then there would be others that would get a lot. Yeah, so pretty much
Yeah.
just follow of those guys.
And then later on, did you do any like one-on-one training with anyone?
Yeah, after that, I probably dabbled in like a little bit of one-on-one training with some different like top trainers in Australia, supposedly, like, you know, with within the fitness area, like guys that would be running the national academy, that would get a little bit more specific. But it was probably, you know, still a lot along the same lines of the deadlifting and squatting and, you know, Olympic lifting, a little bit of crossfitting type sort of stuff was thrown in there. And it's hard to know what to do when you're that young, really. Like you just, all you got is the advice of these guys that you think are the experts. So you kind of follow along at that stage. Um,
Yeah, and was the idea more like strengthening so you can prevent injuries, or was it more like getting you stronger and more endurance? What was the did they I guess let you know what they were trying to do with the training?
yeah, it would be a combination of both, I think. Like for performance, you know, try and get bigger, stronger, faster, I guess, as well. So you can hit the ball harder on the court, last a bit longer, like endurance wise, and then also the rehab side, probably, you know, their idea was have more strength in those areas, so you'd be less likely to get injured while you're out there.
Yeah, so then
Unfortunately,
yeah, so then you did that for a little bit, and then you mentioned you did a little bit of yoga as well, right?
yeah, probably after those injuries, I was about 18, 19. I'd experienced a bit of the back problems for a while, and the hip as well. So I was going to try something different. It was probably around the time where yoga was starting to get pushed quite mainstream. So you were seeing it pop up more. So I thought, yeah, I'll give it a shot. Maybe early on, had a little bit of you know, success with it for a couple of months, thinking, yeah, my back's feeling a little better at the moment. I'm feeling looser. Um, but then, yeah, 6 months, a year down the track, I probably wasn't getting much benefit, more injuries almost, and then I stopped about there. Probably around the same time where I first had discovered functional patterns.
Did you do any sort of well, you said you did physical therapy for your hip surgery. Did you do anything for your back? Anything else other than yoga?
Yeah, I would have done physio, chiro, tried a lot of things. Probably, yeah, probably everything really. They had some physios out with the sort of the tennis association as well, so we'd go see their physios. I went and saw a chiro a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, ever really got, especially in the hip, like they could kind of keep it together a little bit. My hip would get sore. They'd do some stuff to ease off a little bit of the pain, but it would come back. The back never really got too much benefit for it. I pretty much thought I was going to be living with a painful back for the rest of my life. That's what I was almost thinking for there for a while.
Yeah, I did a lot of lifting when I was in high school and did a bunch of different things, and my back was one of the biggest things that was just hurt all the time. And sometimes I would wake up and it was stiff, and then I would go to like brush my teeth or wash my face, and it would lock, and then I would have trouble even trying to stand up.
Yeah.
How was it for you? How was it like dealing with back pain? I guess how bad was it?
The simple stuff is probably in the basics, the things that I struggled with a lot as well, like sitting, traveling as a tennis player. You got to fly on some long flights. Um, Even just waiting around tennis courts, you got to wait a few hours for your matches. I couldn't sit for longer than like 15, 20 minutes with my back getting really locked up and starting to ache. Now I can sit probably for a couple of hours with no issue, even longer. Um, Tying my shoes, I'd have the same thing. I'd tie shoes on my back, it'd be aching, bending over. So I'd, you know, try and figure out different ways so I wouldn't have to bend my back to tie my shoes. Um,
The
and on,
sneezing. Talk about
I,
sneezing.
I had some sternum issues as well, sneezing, which really, yeah, would kill that, and that's gone now after training with FP. Um, but yeah, just a lot of the basics. Even walking around, like my back had ached during the day. I couldn't. I'd be doing a little bit of work, and I couldn't stand up for too long without it aching. Yeah, and then a few times I had it lock up on me pretty good. I remember walking through some airports after tennis tournaments, like really couldn't take steps longer than 5 centimeters probably because my back was just completely locked.
Wow. And
Yeah,
how was it playing with that with those issues?
yeah, it was pretty limiting. So I couldn't train much. I'd be on court, for an hour, and then it would tighten up, so I'd have to stop, play some matches, and then pull out a lot of tournaments. Like I'd play a few matches, and it would lock up, so I'd have to rest up for the next week, and I just couldn't really put in much proper training. So my level was kind of being stunted a little bit as well, just because I couldn't push myself on the court. And then even like sort of specifics within the game, like in tennis, first serves you're kind of hitting pretty flat and hard, so you can keep your back reasonably straight and just hit it through the ball. Second serves, you'll need to bend quite a lot to try and get a little bit of kick and shape, so it's a bit of a safer serve. And since I couldn't do that, I was just pretty much hitting 2 first serves. So like it was risky serving. I'd be missing a lot of serves. So now I can bend my back again, so I can actually hit proper second serves and like trust that my back's not going to go on me, which is nice.
Yeah. So so now you started to play more again, right? Did you stop for a while? Did you have to stop
Yeah,
eventually?
for a little bit. Probably end of 2020. Yeah, end of 2020, start of 2021. I'd been playing a lot of tournaments through the COVID year, and my body was just breaking down constantly. So I thought I'd watched a lot of Nowdy's videos and his lives and stuff, and he recommends taking some time off to do whatever from whatever you're doing that's causing the injuries, and just go with FP for a while, give it a good shot. So I did the 10-week course. I took a couple months off court, did that, and then we had some big lockdowns in Australia with COVID in 2021, and I found Pablo Martin, and I started doing some online training with him, and then we've been going for about a year now, close to it. And for the first 8-9 months, I was just off court training with him twice a week, but I'd do my own stuff throughout the week, just whatever homework he was giving me. And then I've just started playing a little bit again the last month and a half, 2 months, and ramping it up a little bit. And the body's feeling good. The back's had no issues since coming back, which has been pretty surprising. I thought maybe there was a chance that it could go down once I start pushing myself a little bit more, but it's feeling really good. So yeah, I've got a lot of confidence in it.
Nice. So I'm guessing you're planning to start playing and probably competing again soon, right?
Yeah, I've played a couple of small tournaments over the last like week or two, just to try and get a few matches back. Being out for a while, it's been different coming back, but
Mm-hmm.
there's some pro stuff coming up over the next few months that I'll hopefully start playing more of and see how we go. I know it's probably going to be a little bit of a slow process at the start. I'm trying to change like some ways I'm hitting the ball as well. That I watch a fair bit of footage, and I'm sending a lot to Pablo as well, which seeing if we can tweak certain things in my game. So it might be a little bit of a slow process to start with, but I think it's going to be worthwhile. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure the timing will change a little bit and other aspects. So going back a little bit into when you first started doing the 10-week course, how was that like? Did you get any benefit from it? How did it go with that?
Yeah, I was doing, whenever I do things, I do them quite full on. So I might have done like too much of that 10 week. I was like smashing it. I was doing like 3 hours a day of like fascia release, all the exercises. So I might have overrolled there for a little while, but I felt good with it. I probably just got a little bit too loose almost by the time I started back with Pablo. He did some stuff to sort of like tighten me up a little bit more. Because naturally I think I'm a little bit like sort of that flaccid style body, but
Mm-hmm.
my back started feeling better instantly from when I was doing it. I had the sternum issue still going on, which was maybe I needed a little bit more exercises for what we did with Pablo, and that sorted that out pretty quickly. But yeah, the 10-week course was very good, very specific with a lot of little details that, you need to know by the time you start working with a prac. You don't want to be going over all these little basics. You want them covered with the 10-week, which was good. That got that out of the way, and I was ready to go by the time
Yeah,
I
I
was
know
working.
I still go back to the 10-week course and pick up new things. The more you peel back the layers, the more you can get from some of the basic stuff. And then how was it? You kind of went into it a little bit, but I guess how was it training with Pablo? Different from the 10-week course. What was it like the first week, the first month, and how is it like now?
The 10-week course was about getting a lot of the little specifics right, and sort of like sorting some things out with your posture. By the time I started training with Pablo, yeah, we were doing some tough exercises. Like, I mean, the 10-week course, they're hard. A lot of those little exercises will burn you out. But we started adding a little bit more weight in to some of the exercises, with the cable stuff, and even kettlebells. And yeah, it was hard early on. I was pretty weak. I couldn't do any of the stuff really. Um, so it was intense. But I reckon within 2 or 3 weeks, I started noticing some really good improvements. My back was feeling better straight away. Like I'd recommend anyone to train with a practitioner, especially get that 10-week course done, so then you can just move straight into it. And yeah, I the back was gone within 3 weeks. The sternum, we had a little bit of issues figuring that out for a while because it was a tricky one. But I reckon after about 4 or 5 months, I had no sternum pain,
Wow.
because yeah, every time I would sneeze, I'd get these big cracks in my sternum, and it would really hurt. So it wasn't great going through spring sneezing sort of like 5 and 6 times a day. But I don't have any of that anymore. Um, Sleeping wise, I wasn't sleeping real good before Pablo. I was like waking up constantly with my neck. I'd have like some neck aching, my back. Since him, I sleep real good every night. So that's been a big improvement. Um, and he's been awesome because he's just been like giving me little tips even to do outside of training, and how I should be, conducting different like behaviors and whatnot. So he's been a lot of help.
Awesome. Someone's asking, how are you guys correcting some of these symmetries of tennis? So if you could go maybe a little bit into, are you guys you're a tennis player, right? So are you just focusing on tennis, or are you focusing on becoming a better runner? Are you focusing on becoming a better thrower, standing better? How are you guys, I guess, tackling these issues and relating it to tennis, which is what you do?
Yeah, we'd sort of cover all of those things. I think at the start we were doing a lot with my gait, and my gait cycle was looking pretty bad early on. I've got all the videos. I video a lot of my stuff just to sort of like look over it, months later, and my gait was looking, yeah, pretty average at the start. And I reckon within about 4 or 5 weeks, I was really surprised how well like the exercises transitioned to running, because I wouldn't try to do anything with running. Like sometimes I'll see running results before I was training with a prac, and I'd see these amazing results, and I thought, oh, maybe they'd need some kind of little bit of, focusing on something while they were running or cueing to change that. Yeah, I wouldn't do anything, and my running looked completely different. A lot of the things that were happening in the before one weren't there after. Um, I think my top speed improved like probably 5 or 6 kilometers an hour, and
Wow.
pain-free running as well. So yeah, we were doing a lot of exercises that would relate to the gait, and yeah, it just transfers on its own. And then we're now doing a little bit of tinkering with some tennis stuff. Like we'll look at how I'm hitting the ball, seeing if it can relate some way to the gait as well, and tweak different exercises to get me doing different things. Tennis obviously is like you're playing right-handed, so you got to do a lot of things on the right-handed side, and you're not getting much on the left. So yeah, it's a tricky one to kind of even out both sides, but we're doing our best.
Nice. So now, what would you say, or how would you say rather? FP has changed the way you train, the way you play, and the way you think about tennis?
Um, Definitely in terms of like efficiency now. Before, I would train really, really hard all the time and think that was what I needed, just to continually smash my body in order to get better. Um, Now I'm only doing FP training. I don't mix it with anything else. And we'll still train hard, but yeah, with more efficient ways. They're a little bit more sustainable, I think, long term. Not just smashing joints or my disc. Um, I'm starting to ramp up a little bit of the time on court, but I don't think I'll ever go back to the amount of hours I was doing before FP. So yeah, I think I do about probably an hour and a half a day on FP when I can. I'll take a rest day here and there, and it's not always really tough stuff. Sometimes it's just little tweaking exercises. Um, but yeah, I don't think I'll go back to that style of training that a lot of people recommend. Just smash yourself, and people almost like take pride in injuries in a way. I'll be trying to avoid that and go a route where it can be a little bit more efficient and long lasting.
Yeah, to me it seems like it's just very inefficient. You end up having to do more and having more risk with the traditional style, whereas with FP you're making your body more efficient, so you end up having to less, but you're getting more out of it, more of a reward. So
Yeah,
that's what I experienced. That's what it sounds like you're saying as well.
and
Um,
I'm in the early stages as well, like a year and a little bit into it, so I know I've got a long way to go, and it's a slow journey, and you keep chipping away. But yeah, I'm really happy with the results so far. So yeah, I'm in it
yeah,
for the
would you
long term.
say so? Would you say that you're getting stronger, faster, increasing your endurance with FP, or are you just standing straighter, like
I've
some people
added,
might say?
yeah, I think I've added about 5 kilos of muscle. Um, yeah, definitely not just standing straight. I can feel different muscles in my body um, that I couldn't before. I didn't even know they existed, but now uh, in different motions, whether it's like I'm picking something up off the ground or opening a fridge, or I can feel different muscles firing than I did before. And I was thinking, how's I do? Same with the tennis as well. Like I'd hit balls in a certain way before, and muscles would get overworked. Now I've changed a little bit where I'm orientating like my power from, and I can play for longer without getting these pains. Yeah, bigger muscles groups are working, and it's kind of a strange feeling at first. Like I'm sure if I went back and pre-training FP, it would be crazy to feel the difference. Obviously, it changes slowly over time, so you probably forget how you were before. But yeah, some of the sensations that you get from doing FP are definitely different once you start realizing how to move your body more efficiently.
Yeah, I've experienced it with boxing before. Generally, when people learn how to box, they tend to be very heavy with their hands and try to kind of punch with their arms. And after doing FP, it feels when you're punching harder and more efficient, but it feels like very, very effortless, and it's a great
Mm-hmm.
feeling.
Yeah, I remember the first session or two with Pablo. I was like, damn, like what the hell's going on here? Some of the little corrections he gave me, I was thinking I've never used these muscles in my life. So I was just going around for the rest of the day, kind of doing motions, trying to use those sort of muscles. I'm like, this feels pretty good.
Yeah, and it's not just that we're finding new muscles and trying to activate them and getting them stronger in an isolated way. We're finding them and connecting them to the whole chain, and that's why
Yeah,
you
for
end up becoming more
sure.
efficient.
Yeah,
So you also spoke a little bit about how your mom's doing FP now, right? So you
yeah.
said she was in pain for 30 years. When I first started training people, I started to see a lot of the people that I trained as they got older, how they were in a lot of pain and how that affected their life. So it really shaped my thinking with how I wanted to live my life, and making sure that the things that I did in my youth um, were not gonna I wasn't gonna regret, basically, when I was older, and I wasn't gonna pay for them. So can you describe how seeing your mom being in pain, how that affected your mindset as well?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's pretty much spot on. The same with me. Like, my whole family's doing FP now. I got my brother doing it. My dad does it, and my mom's been doing it for 6 months or so. But yeah, I saw her, for the last 10 years, 15 years, being in a lot of pain with her back. And she'll struggle to get out of bed of a morning, walking upstairs. She'll be really struggling with arthritis sort of pain. Um, so yeah, I saw that, and for a while there, I thought that's probably where I was headed as well. When I was trying not to, I didn't want to. I was thinking, let's give my best effort to find whatever I can to make sure my back's not like that in the future. But I thought, yeah, there was a decent chance, because I'd been in pain for 4 or 5 years, that's where I was going as well. She did a lot of gymnastics growing up, which probably, impacted that as well. So, you do have to look at the choices that you're making when you're younger, and you don't want to impact them later in the life. So, yeah, even with tennis, I'm careful now. Won't do anything that'll be like potentially short term, helping me in the short term, but I think more long term now. Like, okay, is this going to benefit me in 15, 20 years? By the time I'm 45, 50, I want to be able to move as well as I'm doing now, if not better. So yeah, definitely I'm thinking about a lot of the things I'm doing day to day. So yeah, I'm following all the FP protocols, and so far they're working, so I can imagine I'll keep doing them.
Awesome. And then the last thing that I wanted to ask is, I mean, I can imagine playing as a professional. There's a lot of stress involved. There's a lot of nervousness. Has FP helped with that at all, with kind of quote unquote mental health?
Yeah, I've always been reasonably stable mentally, like, but I would say much calmer now. I was stressing probably about matches a little bit. Um, Obviously my body as well. Like, if my back's hurting all the time, that was creating some stress. Um, so now that feels better. I have lower stress about that throughout the day. Before, I was actually doing a lot of meditation as well when I was doing yoga in that period, trying to use that to calm me down for matches. Might have helped in sort of like the short term as well again, but it required me to almost to do more and more. And I was doing, like, quite a lot of meditation just to try and stay relaxed. And then when I wasn't doing it, I would get anxious a little quicker. Um, since
Mm.
FP, I don't really do much meditation at all anymore. I do a couple of things now that he does with his, devices that he has on, and I've been getting really good scores the last few months without doing too much of that stuff. I just do my FP training, and I'm trying to, like, address my behaviors, and try and get out in the sun in the morning and do all those things. And I feel pretty much every day really calm. I think out of a year, maybe there'd be one day where I'd be a little bit more stressed, but most days I wake up feeling real good. Yeah, very low levels of stress. So I definitely recommend it to people for that as well. If they're stressed out, try and get to the actual root cause of your stress, rather than just masking it with some meditation or things like that.
Yeah, we spoke about the traditional training, how it's inefficient. You end up having to do more, and the risk might be more. So I see it with the behaviors also. It's like, what can I do that is gonna be more efficient, and it's gonna help me more long term without having possible consequences like drinking caffeine or drinking alcohol, smoking weed, etc. So, anything else that you feel like was a big behavior that changed since doing FE?
Um, Behavior wise, I've cut out eating grains since I'm doing FP. Make sure I get out in the sun in the morning and the afternoon. trying to be a little less sort of like twitchy and fast with my movements and trying to slow down in that sort of way. Heavy ways, I can't think of much else. I'm sure there probably is. Nothing's coming to mind right now, but yeah, that's probably it.
Great. Yeah. So, anything else that you want to add? I think we covered a lot, but if there's anything else.
That's pretty much it. I would just say for people, if you been dealing with a lot of pain and you haven't found something yet that can help you, to give FP a good shot. Hire a practitioner. I think there's a high chance it'll work for you. So yeah, that's what I'll probably say.
Awesome. Yeah, and thanks for coming on, and looking forward to seeing you play in the near future.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, hopefully I can have some Johnny Eblin style results.
I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to Pablo for guiding you, and yeah, we'll see the results soon.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Rodney. Thanks to Nowdy. Thanks, Pablo.
Yeah, and talking about Johnny Eblin, he's going to be coming in Wednesday. So thanks for tuning
Yeah.
in, everyone. And Wednesday, I'm going to be chatting with him.
Awesome.
All right, guys.
Perfect.
Thanks, Jake.
Thanks, Rodney. See you later, bro.
See ya.